to avoid anything weird. Alright, so what I'm doing here is it's going to be an all AI game, except for me. I'll be a real person. We're going to be going ahead, getting in, taking a look at some basic getting started tips for Heroes of the Storm. I've had a lot of people kind of ask me lately, you know, the game seems very, very complicated, and while I think they do a very good job with the tutorial, it can be very daunting to go from the tutorial into an actual game like what we're going to be doing here. So the goal of this video is to kind of just give you some basic do's and don'ts when you're playing the game as a brand new player. I'm going to be doing it on Thrall here. We'll see how we do. It's hard to play one of these games and talk at the same time, but we'll give it a go. So the first tip that I can really offer for a new Heroes of the Storm player is, you know, pick a role you're comfortable with. You know, try a lot of heroes, find out what you like, what you enjoy, and really run with it. But make sure you are sticking to your role. You know, if you are ranged, make sure you're not standing up in melee range all the time. If you're melee, make sure you know you're in there when you need to be. If you're a tank, make sure you're tanking. You know, basically play your class. It's very similar to Warcraft, MMO strategy, all of that. You know, stick with what you're committing to. So Thrall here is a melee assassin. What that means is he is good at dropping heroes. So his job is to get in there, do some damage, hurt people, and try and get some takedowns. So another one of the big do's and don'ts on this game is be careful. It's not about getting in there and doing as much damage right away as humanly possible. That's not gonna help. You know, Captain Hammer. Sorry, Hammer. We'll see you later, I guess. That's really not what it's about. It's really not about let's get in, see how much damage I can possibly do. Sometimes you gotta play it safe. Right now I'm at a definite disadvantage. I've got two heroes going up against me. I'm all by myself. I need to be careful. Kind of my second tip, you know, focus down when you're fighting. You can see me going after Tyrande there. We're focusing her down before we try and get a new Barak. There we got a new Barak. You know, play smart. Hang back when you need to. Go after kills when you need to. Make smart use of your abilities. Avoid needless damage. We're actually about to see Captain Hammer die again for basically not doing exactly that. You know, it's better to be alive than it is and running away than it is to be dead and kind of doing nothing. So here we're seeing a good example of that. Thrall is actually very low on mana. I kind of got to get out of here. I'm going to see if I can kind of stick in here and maybe do enough damage to take out this group before I head back. But, you know, play it smart, play it safe. Don't be afraid to hearth back, work with your team, work within the map objectives. Like, all of that is super important stuff. And it's always very important to play the game cautious. Now, I'm trying to avoid too many specific to this particular game tips. I'm trying to really mostly give general ideas on what to do. But while I am playing as this here thing, it's going to be awfully hard to not give specific tips. simply because of what I'm actually doing right now on the hero. So I'm gonna try and think. You know, we'll use this time to kind of say, make sure you're adhering to map objectives. You want to be doing that. Make sure you're sticking together. This game is a team game. No doubt about it. It's a team game. You want to be working with your team. You want to be working in conjunction with them. As often and as much as possible.
Your terror has been cut down.
Alright. Talents. Try and pick talents that seem to work well for you. You know, going online and finding builds is one thing, but having all the builds in the world don't matter if you don't put them into good use. So while I can, you know, we've got a couple videos on our YouTube page even saying, you know, hey, here's a good build for Thrall, or here's a good build for Sylvanas. If you don't like the moves that make up that build is not going to be the most useful thing in the world for you. You're not gonna like it. You're not gonna have fun. So pick what sounds good. There are definitely better builds than others. There are talents that are something of a waste, but as you get more familiar with the game, you will get better at identifying what those are and whether or not they need to be avoided. So, this seems like an appropriate spot to mention, don't push your luck. It will get very tempting to push super aggressively when you get moments like I just did, where you're making good progress and all that. But as a result of that aggressive push, I had to hearth back. Now I'm all the way back at this part of the map, having to run back, as opposed to backing off at the time, being in a much better position to be fighting, to be doing other things. So you just gotta be careful with what you do. That, case in point, was a perfect point to push. That is a perfect point to back off. It's identifying when is a good time to do what. You know, when is it a good time to really push my luck? When is it a good time to step back? And it's kind of a dance, you know. I suspect, based on the fact that we do a WoW podcast, that a lot of you play WoW who are maybe watching this. And I'm going to just say, kind of tied to that, it's very WoW-like, with having to learn the dance, having to learn when to move, where to move, why you move. All of that, very, very key to this game.
The terror awaits. Come, take its power. Rise, my terror. Sap the life from your enemies. I see you.
If you play support, think about how you can play in conjunction with other support characters. Think about what makes sense with regards to that.
Your enemy has spawned a terror.
You know, always be kind of thinking about things in the larger scheme of things.
Choose a talent. You've lost a fort here.
Let's see if I can drop one more pot down here before my Garden Terror dies.
Your terror is outpost.
Another good bit of advice is get familiar with your talents before you go into battle. But don't necessarily feel like you have to stick with whatever it is that you've picked. I was playing a game earlier tonight where there were no healers. So I was playing Tassadar, who is a support, but he's not a very good healer as far as support goes. He gets a little bit of it depending on the talents. He gets a healing ward talent, which, you know, just isn't going to really cut it in any sort of big way. Not that it's terrible, but he's just not a good healer. He's a good support, not a great healer. However, because we didn't have one, my goal was to play him as support heavy as I possibly could. And I was going to pick all healing talents and really focus on that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we were fighting a group of individuals who were basically not causing enough damage to justify focusing so heavily on healing. So I was able to spec a little higher with damage. Damage ended up working perfectly. So let's look at this. Here's an interesting thing. Here's a great tip, because I have not been doing it. Map awareness. Keep a good eye on your map. Situational awareness to where the enemies are, what they're doing, is so important. It is probably one of the most important things in this game. As you can see, they were hitting our core. You know, I think if you're watching the match itself, you will notice that we're actually doing pretty good in this match. You know, it's not surprising, it's just a bunch of bots, but we're doing well. However, we could have very easily just lost the match, simply from the perspective of not paying enough attention to where the enemy was, what they were doing, why they were there, any of that. So you have to be so careful. And I think I'm gonna die. Yep. Speaking of that, I like to talk about things that are going on. So, one thing to keep in mind, as the match goes on, the respawn cooldown gets higher. In the beginning of the game, it was taking about 7 seconds for us to pop back in. Right now, it's taking about 30.
I see you've survived.
So, later, there will be, you know, you can get up to a minute of waiting for everything to respawn. And it can be the most devastating impact on the game, is being down for that amount of time. I've had matches where we were handedly winning, but because they managed to take all of our team out for 30 seconds, that gave them 30 seconds to work on whatever they wanted to work on. And that's gonna kill you. So that kind of also goes with map awareness, you know, just be aware of the other team, be aware of what they're doing, and also be aware of the impact that you can have on them. So right now we are actually getting into a bit of a team battle. We are actually in a really good place to maybe take out some of their people for a chunk of time. Ideally you want to take out their high damage dealers or healers first. So there you go. We've now got a huge chunk of their team dead. However, they have their Garden Terror heading for our base. We need to stop that.
Keep gone.
I don't know if you can actually command the AI, but anyway, I'm trying, giving it my all. We've got to get this garden terror down.
Your core is under attack.
He is continuing to silence me. Try and get him back here where at least the core can hit him. Dang it. I'd really like to take out Tyrande. There we go. Got her.
Struggle no more.
That was probably too much attention paid to one character. So, as a result, let me tell you another little tip. This is the worst video ever. I'm just not taking any of my own advice. That's okay. So, another thing to kind of keep in mind as you're going through the game is to take a look and not chase. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I was doing. I'm trying to think of what I was doing that I shouldn't have been doing. Don't chase. Do not chase enemy heroes. At least not too far. It's okay to chase them a little, but eventually the smart play is to stop chasing them, because it's one of the most effective ways to kill people in this game is to bait them into a trap that they can then not get out of, which I'm actually kind of trying to do right here. I'm trying to come up behind these guys and see if I can maybe get a kill by swooping in behind them. Which I did. So here we go, case in point. As mentioned before, taking them down, you can see they have a very long respawn timer at this point. Which allows me time to get all the seeds. That's not only growing my garden terror, that's denying them as well. It is free reign to do as I please. So that's going to really help. I don't know. I guess probably the biggest tip I can give to new players is this. Watch matches. You know, play against the AI. As you can see, this match isn't super taxing. Odds are very good we're going to win it. Things would have to kind of get really weird for that to ultimately not be the case. So, play against the AI. And, you know, do your best. Do the best you can.
down. Careful. My plans won't go this.
Oh, this is getting frighteningly intense. Nope, gonna die. That's okay. Killed and severely hurt 2 of them for 1 of me. Not a bad trade. Got my team in there now, doing damage. You know, I would say stick together. Don't try to play it solo in the early game. We're probably going to win this right here, so I'll just talk over it. You know, stick together as a team. Play your role. Play safe. You don't have to go right for the kill every single time. In fact, for the most part, early game, you should just be killing creeps and earning experience. That's the best tip I can give you. You earn experience by being in proximity to enemies when they die. So what that means is that if you have somebody in all 3 lanes, being close to the minions as they die, that's 3 different sources of experience that you're getting. So if you all clump up into one clump, you're going to be more effective in team fights, you're going to do more damage, but you're not going to get as much experience, especially if you're not killing the other team. So, you know, kind of knowing when to spread out, when to clump together is also very important, when to pick up merc camps, but these are all advanced things that you'll get as you go. It's not important that you are a master of all these things when you get into the game. The most important thing that you can do is just get in, take care of yourself, keep yourself alive, play whatever role it is. If your role is to keep other people alive, do that. If your role is to take damage and stay alive as a warrior, do that. If your job is to do damage and hurt people, do that. And you'll start to pick up on the minutia the more you play. Start with AI, work your way up to playing with or even eventually against other players. And as you level up, you'll get more and more familiar with the heroes that you like, and you'll find what you like, and it'll play really, really well for you. So I hope that helps. I hope that's some good tips to get you started. That's going to be the end of this little test stream, because like I said, I was only really doing it to capture some overlay stuff for technical behind-the-scenes reasons. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. I hope this helped.